This happened about 8 years ago when I was 21 and working as a camp counselor. The place is basically a bunch of cabins in the woods on top of a mountain, each cabin a half-mile apart from the other, so you're pretty isolated in the woods. One night, at about 1 a.m., I was sneaking off to meet my girlfriend. You're supposed to stay in your cabins after 10, as was usual, and was cutting through some woods to get her a cabin. Suddenly, I heard rustling in the woods and stopped to investigate it. There are bears and other animals, so I was expecting something like that. This 3-foot-tall humanoid type thing suddenly jumps out of the bushes and looks at me. It's too dark for me to make out any of its features, other than it was standing on 2 feet, had 2 arms, and basically looked just like a miniature person without any features, just looked solid black. If it had clothes on, I would have been able to notice that. I was curious what it was, so I started walking towards it and it spooked, bolting back into the woods. I'll never forget how mechanical it looked as it took off running. Its whole body basically shifted 90 degrees like if someone was doing the robot dance, and it just took off. I have never seen anything on 2 legs run that quickly, so I was pretty confused about what it was. I'm a pretty fast runner and fit person in general, but this thing was on another level of fast. As much as I try to make sense of it, I still to this day have no idea what it was. It was very human, but too short to be a human. 3 feet tall is about accurate, and I don't know how a human could run that fast anyway. I have no idea, but it's always bugged me. Maybe one day I will go back to try and find this creature again. I was a park ranger on a small island, the only year-round resident. Private boat access only with no bridge or ferries. It became crowded in summer, but we empty out completely when the weather turned. I love the off-season with 400 acres all to myself, no phone, no internet. Sometimes, though, I would get bored. I'd go out at night without a flashlight and challenge myself to hike the entire island in the dark. There was moonlight to navigate by, but there was also a stretch of the main trail that passed through the oldest trees on the island where I'd be plunged into total darkness. I was in the old forest one night when I heard something behind me. I turned, nothing there, turned back, and something brushed my face. My stomach dropped and I swung my fist into something. I ran full tilt for 100 yards, stomping in my big stupid boots with my gun belt bouncing up and down, my vest riding up to saw my throat. I stopped and bent over with a stitch in my side and started laughing. I held my hand in front of my eyes and ran my fingers over the prickled cut from the branch I punched. Through the spread fingers of my injured hand, I saw a smear of bright white off-trail ahead. I figured it was one of a small herd of white-rumped deer the locals wrongfully referred to as palominos, but it moved up a side trail before I could get a better look. I got my breath under control and followed. 100 feet up the side trail, it split again, and I could hear something moving through the underbrush, just past the fork and to the right. I crouched as I made my way to the fork and stayed low, trying to keep quiet and unseen. The trail gains elevation as it nears the center of the island, where the trees spread out and the moon lights things up. I heard a sharp bark and froze, then crept forwards a few feet. I reached the fork and was straining to see ahead when I heard the crunch and crack of something in the brush behind me. I spun and saw a pale man, 6 foot or taller, with dark hair, wearing a bright white t-shirt about 30 feet from me. He gave me a lunatic grin, barked again, a hard, sharp hey, then turned and ran off into the woods. I stood still, scanning the trees, my hand on my gun. After not hearing anything for a few moments, I backtracked my way to the main trail, then terrified, speed walked all the way back to my cabin. I hiked the exterior again that night with a flashlight this time and checked the coast for evidence of any visitor, boater, or wayward traveler. Nothing. I got up early morning, and in the light of day, I did the same with the same result. I don't know who or what it could have been. The way he was running around off-trail convinced me that he knew the island very well, better than me for sure, and that he was hiding out somewhere. But I never found any evidence of a secret lair, and I never saw him again.